is dealing with a palette that is full of color. Pulling color into the big pieces is kind of expensive because these are oil paints. So you can imagine the tube of paint disappears in a hurry on a big canvas, and yet the smaller ones show some direction that they might go in the larger work as her palette and as her ability to afford comes about. Now, with Albert, he didn't know that much about fabrication. He knew a little bit about it. He went to school, had the university training, and he came out and studied with an excellent craftsman, picked up more of the skills of a fabricator, and you can not find an error in his work. There is such a precision. It's almost like dental precision I mean, it amazes me as a fellow metal worker. Their welds are all cleaned up, and edges keep your eye moving, and certainly that's important as a viewer of art, to let your eye continue to move through a piece. So I'm going to ask Katie to talk a little bit about her work, and then she will introduce Albert, and he'll talk about his work. Katie?
Hello, everybody. First, I would like to thank Bill for the invitation, and him and Sharon and the community, the members of Liberty Arts. I had the opportunity to be here 2 years ago when Joe and Bill had a show, and I was just struck with what an amazing space this is and what a great community. And I'm honored to be here with all of you. As Bill said, my work changes. That's the one constant in life, is that everything changes, and I'm constantly sort of taking a sense of what it feels like to be alive, in general and at any given point in time. And I'm very connected with nature. I walk out at the Berkeley Marina on the bay almost daily, and I'm constantly looking at birds and quality of light and what's growing in the drought or when it rains, and taking all of these natural things into myself and seeing that I see different things at different times in my life. At some point it might be more about form, and in the past year I've been more interested in space and spaciousness, and how do you show what that feels like to be in, especially when you're at the edge of the sea and you're looking out and there's the huge sky and the fields around you, and how do you translate what it feels like to be in that space and make something meaningful that would be worth working on and then sharing with people. And then I think for me, the constant in my work is my interest in color and light. And so this group of paintings is started with that one over there. That's the kingfisher that I would see almost daily on my walks at the marina. And the kingfisher is very shy, and it would always kind of stay just one loop ahead of me on a telephone wire. So it felt like we were walking together, only I was following. And I'd be looking up into the sky and into the ripples in the water and looking at the fog and just taking all of it in. And another thing that I've been doing is walking without wearing my glasses. Because I like to take them off from time to time. And it means that I take in this whole environment in a little bit out of focus way. And it's interesting to try to think about how do you do something out of focus when so much emphasis is always placed on getting things just right and in focus and kind of solid. And so I decided I was going to go into thinking about space and not having control of everything. And so that's one part of my work. And another interest of mine has been in the last couple of years the kind of odd collaboration between people who paint graffiti and people who immediately cover it up and always with the wrong color. And it annoyed me a great deal for a long time. I always thought, no, don't they still have the original color? Why couldn't they just use that color? Until I saw a really beautiful array of wrong colors on a yellow ochre building, and suddenly I thought, oh, this is an interesting collaboration that happens, and I'd like to try that and kind of collaborate with myself. I had a much better time with the cover-up than kind of understanding what graffiti would be for me. And I tried to come up with kind of more drawing type and language and you know, a type of painting that was more akin to graffiti, but it really wasn't authentic for me. So I sort of kind of let the nature find its way back into the work and then would cover over. So for instance, this little group of white, black, gray, and red in this painting represents the colors of a chickadee. I didn't really want to paint an exact chickadee, but I wanted the colors and the essence of a chickadee to come into this otherwise cool, gray, neutral world. And in this painting, I started realizing that one of the things that I saw every day on my walk was cabbage moths. And cabbage moths had this really amazing erratic flight. And they often are two of them, and they kind of come together and touch and bounce off and then fly around. And you can see them awkwardly going across the landscape. And I realized that they were inhabiting space that I was looking at. And so the colors in this represent the colors of the cabbage moth. And so, you know, part of the blocks of color that are covering over parts of nature are also representing parts of nature. And the other thing that happened was that there was a really great show of Turner that came to San Francisco this summer, and his work deals with light and color and space in a way that just has always blown my mind. So I did a little foray into painting like Turner, and then you know, when I got through with that, I turned them upside down and on their side because they looked too much like Turner. And then I could, you know, do my little bit of graffiti abatement on top of the Turner landscapes. So with that, I would like to say that it's been really an honor to meet Albert and get to know his work. And I've always loved the round form. And I also really love his surfaces, the entire way that he works with his sculpture, how it reflects light, how you can see through it and around it. And all of his forms relate somehow back to nature also. And I think that Bill did a very good job of putting this together.